Good evening, Reverend Michael McMorrow, coming to you from the sanctuary at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, California. So I'd like to welcome you for our Wednesday night healing meditation here on CSLGH YouTube. If this is your first time visiting us, please subscribe to our channel and hit that little bell on there, and it'll notify you when we have our various activities here. So I have to just stop and do a bit of business first. So Michael in the back, which camera am I supposed to be looking at? Okay, because I want to make sure I'm looking at you. Yeah. All right, so we're going to start the way we start every service here. Typically, if you haven't been here before, there's a presider, and we actually light the flames of faith as we go along as an opening ritual. But now we'll just go through them as they're already lit behind me. So let's just start by taking a deep conscious breath together. And release it. Just sigh it out. That's it. Just release that day. And taking another deep breath. And just release it. And then one more breath, breathing in the healing breath of the divine itself. And release. And so we're surrendering then into this moment, this eternal now moment as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. That fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So, the first candle we light for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we hold for them here, online with all of you, or here, right here in the heart. And as we bring our attention to the healing candle, I would invite you to remember anyone who you wish to experience and to acknowledge the living spirit of God's truth. So we might want to bring into this remembrance at this time anyone who has passed from this COVID pandemic, and to remember all of those working on the front lines, of course, the medical teams who are caring for all of those who are sick and suffering, but all of those who are also making it possible for us to stay safe at home. The delivery drivers, the farm workers, anyone who has to do with within the food chain, within agriculture, or even providing services that keep us distracted and entertained while we're hunkered down like this. All right, so we just release all of them now into the healing light of the living Spirit itself. And so, in this moment of peace and self-reflection, each one of us goes within the secret chamber of our own heart to connect with that aspect of the divine as we know it to be, and know it as it demonstrates in our life, connecting with that, knowing that there's but one power, one presence, one source, one life, one living intelligence, one infinite heart of the divine expressing in, through, and as all of life, in, through, and as your life and my life. And as we each go within our own way, connecting to this power and presence, I just claim for all of us, for this meditation time, that I'm claiming this time as our own. That we, in a new way, are stepping into connection, into relationship that is peaceful and harmonious and has a sense of serenity and confident power about it. That as we work with the breath tonight, we allow the mind to still, and in that stillness then, allow whatever needs to be made to make itself known, to allow it to bubble forth, and that we are confident that in stepping into creating together this field of healing by means of this meditation time. So having set the intention, and for the intentions held within the hearts of anyone watching, let's just take a deep breath one more time. And release. And in that release, we're just knowing we're releasing it to that aspect of the mind of the divine itself that knows only to say yes. Yes, yes, my beloved. Yes, in you I am well pleased. So we release it to its divine unfoldment, knowing that it's all good because it's all God. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So tonight I'm going to be sharing from this book, which is Discourse and Summaries, I think. The Discourse Summaries. Discourse Summaries of Mr. Goenka. This S.N. Goenka is a meditation teacher who teaches Vipassana, which is a Buddhist-style meditation. So been working with Pema Chodron these last few weeks, who's a Zen instructor. And so this is from Mr. Goenka, and he is out of the country formerly known as Burma. I think they call it Myanmar. I'm sorry, I'm hacking that. But at any rate, he has a very dynamic story about how he came to Vipassana. And he's created quite a movement, and they take their teaching into prisons and all kinds of places where people are suffering, and to teach how to meditate, but also how to, through studying the precepts of Buddhism, which the Four Noble Truths. Let's see if I can do this without hacking it too much, because I'm a visitor to the teaching and not an adherent. But that basically that life is suffering, and we suffer because of our attachments. And there is a way out, and the way out is through the Eightfold Path. And so, within the teaching then, there's this idea, kind of a recognition that life is difficult, that there's suffering within it. And we suffer because we either attach or avert, constantly seeking to stay out of pain and into pleasure, which then, of course, creates an attachment, which ultimately leads to suffering, because the nature of life is impermanent, right? And so in impermanence, it's, in other words, it's all taken away. And this is, if you've ever seen Buddhist monks creating these beautiful mandalas out of sand. So when I was at the World Parliament, these monks spent, I want to say at least 3, maybe 4 days building this beautiful, must have been at least 15 by 15, very ornate mandala out of sand. And then in the closing ritual, they just whooshed and just wipe it all away. So, with this idea of this, that life has within it suffering, and the Buddhist strategy for dealing with that, I wanted to share with you. So in the Vipassana meditation, it's a 10-day sit. And so you get halfway through it, and so you're sitting 4 or 5 formal sits of 45 minutes apiece every day, starting early, I want to say 6 or 7. And then in the evening, after the last sit, there's a discourse by Mr. Goenka, and he's just speaking to meditation and the nature of the mind and attachments and Buddhist philosophy. And it's actually kind of the highlight of the day, because there's no speaking, there's no acknowledgement, you're practicing noble silence. So it's it's pretty intense. So, but at 6 days, he's acknowledging that, wow, you got 6 days done, you have 4 to go. And so in the 4 days that you have left, he's saying, you can eradicate some of the mental defilements or attachments that you have, and grasp the technique that they teach in order to make use of it in your life. If you work with proper understanding and learn how to apply the technique in daily life, then certainly it will be very beneficial to you. Therefore, understand the technique properly. But this is not a path of pessimism. Dhamma teaches us to accept the bitter truth of suffering, but it also shows the way out of suffering. And for this reason, it is the path of optimism combined with realism and also workism. In other words, with focused effort or right effort, which is one of the aspects of the Eightfold Path. Each person has to work to liberate him or herself. So we have to do the work ourselves. So in a few words, the entire path was explained. When all samkhara are impermanent. When one perceives with this one true insight, then one becomes detached from suffering. This is the path of purification. So sankhara means not only a mental reaction, but also the results of these actions. or another word is defilements, or maybe even a resentment could be a sankhara. Every mental reaction is a seed, and a seed that bears fruit. The result is one's actions and sankharas can either be in the past or in the present. Hence the meaning, everything that arises, that becomes composed, will pass away and will disintegrate. So the idea is that these thoughts arise and fall in our consciousness. And some of them will be pretty intense, will have intense suffering attached to them. And this is the interesting thing when you're on a 10-day meditation sit, practicing noble silence with really no distractions. You eat facing the wall so that there's people around, but you're not to acknowledge them. So all kinds of stuff comes up. And you can get really clear on things. So it gave me a new appreciation for in the book of John in the New Testament when Jesus comes out of the wilderness for 40 days. I'm like, wow, a 40-day meditation sit with no distractions. You're going to get pretty clear on stuff. So this is really what we do in meditation, regardless of your technique or how you get there, is that by following the breath and following other sensation within this technique, the mind stills and then things arise, thoughts arise, okay? And then sometimes, we'll get the hook and off we go, like really, it really is like a trout on a line. Zzz, taking out a bunch of line. And then you just got to reel it back in, right? And take a deep breath and release it. And then we go back to following the breath again. And so as each one of these thoughts arise, our ability to observe it without attachment, you see, right? So we're releasing. We're releasing it. We're not attaching. Now, these can be pleasurable thoughts as well, right? Because we can get attached to pleasurable thoughts also. If you've been doing this for a while, you know what I mean. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to check our seat first. So get all the wiggles and jiggles out there at home. Get yourself comfortable, however that is. If you're on the cushion, great. If you're in a chair, but we want to form this triangle where we have a nice solid base. Okay, and then we're going to follow the breath. We're going to follow the movement of the breath in the nostril, and then we're going to pay attention to the movement of the breath on the upper lip, and the mind will begin to still, and you may even feel like an urge to itch or something like that. I'm going to invite you to resist that and to observe it. And if you can do that, you'll see the mind really, when you're focusing on an itch, you're not focusing on a resentment. Because the mind cannot hold two thoughts at the same time. So just observe. Just observe. And so then you may notice some sensation here above your eyebrows, or what some call the third eye, right? Or on the crown of the head. Because we're going to go for about 20 minutes tonight. So if you're an experienced meditator, you may find that you have those sensations or have in the past. So in Vipassana, you sit for 45 minutes at a time, which is interesting if you're not used to it. And I do not sit for 45 minutes today. And frankly, I don't know that I was that good of it at the end of 10 days. I could get to about 40 minutes before I started twitching after the first few days. But yeah, it's up in North Fork, and they have another one in out by Joshua Tree. So check it out sometime if you've been meditating for a while. All right, so enough of that. So let's start. Mike's going to bring up our Omen Bros, and then I'm going to ask him to turn off the air here in the sanctuary. You know, we're going to be monitoring sensation, so maybe you have your air conditioning on. You can even use that, the movement of air on your body. Just any sensation to move into. And then, now if you get hooked by a thought, or you find some tension in some place, then you can make that little adjustment and then just simply take a deep breath and release, and then get back to the breath. Okay, so here we go. Let's just take 3 deep breaths together and release. Sigh it out. I've had Zoom calls all day, so I'm releasing all of that. I'm dropping my arms and just allowing the weight and the blood, and taking a deep breath and releasing. I love feeling the vibration of that in the chest. And one more deep breath. And on this breath, allow the shoulders to drop. That's it. And so we begin, bringing our attention to the movement of the breath in the nostril. So we're going to do a quick body scan, following the breath. So that may be movement, could be pressure, temperature, any sensation in the nostril. And then see if you can detect any tension in your face. So this isn't like we're, focusing, center of the brain. That's not what we're doing. We're relaxing, releasing, gently focusing. I like having my feet rooted to the floor as I sit. If you're on a cushion, imagine your sit bones rooted in the earth. So we move our way up the legs. In any place we find any tension, so my upper thighs are a little torqued, so I'm making an adjustment. I take a deep breath. And I release. And move to my sit bones. And I just quick check on the spine, erect, but not tense. And then I tuck my tailbone in a little bit and allow the chair to support my lower back, even as I balance over my sit bones. So my shoulders are back, and my 14-pound head is balanced on the spinal column on the sit bones, following the breath. And the belly, the tummy just easily rises and falls. Any tension in the shoulders, taking a deep breath. Allow the shoulders to drop. Maybe feel the neck lengthen a little bit. Releasing tension out of the hands, up into the arms, shoulders. Shoulders are back. Spinal column balanced over the sit bones. Follow the breath in the nostril. Following the breath. And we're going to take a deep breath together. Hold it at the top. Exhale, and then we'll move into the silence for about 20 minutes. So taking a deep breath. And release as we surrender now into the silence and the breath. attention gently back into the room and staying with the breath. So let's work with this space we've created and this sense of peace and harmony and serenity. So imagine with me that at the very heart center in your chest, within the Sacred Heart is a flame, an eternal flame. And so breathing easily and naturally with each in-breath, now we're fanning that flame. And we see this flame growing in brilliance and in radiance, breathing in light and exhaling love. Breathing in light, exhaling love. So with it, like blowing up a balloon, with each in-breath, we're seeing this flame grow into a ball of fire right in the heart center. It's growing in brilliance and radiance and illuminates. So we're creating this bellows of light, if you will, within the heart center. And so it continues to grow and to expand. From the size of a softball to a small globe, extending out side to side, front to back, top to bottom. And we're now sitting in this ball of light, in this field of brilliance and radiance. Staying with the breath, breathing in light, exhaling love, so that now the space in which we occupy now is a field of light and love. Breathing still further. So this sanctuary itself is filled with light. Your room is now filled with light and love. And knowing that this field of light and love is bound by nothing, is not bound by space or boundary, that we now are creating this field of light and love, of healing energy. And so in this field of light and love that we've created together, we bring forth our cares, our concerns, our needs, our desires, our celebrations perhaps, our gratitude. So I'm placing in this light my beloved mother, Kathleen, and Robin G. of Santa Clarita, and Alex H., and Michael D., Helen L., Jonathan H., I invite you to speak the name of anyone who you would like to experience healing, including yourself. So now as we've offered these intentions and offered our word, our feelings, our concerns, our challenges, we take a deep breath together and just know together that there is only one power. So these conditions, we do not deny that they have power. We deny that they have power over our life. We're denying nothing. We're observing and releasing. So we're recognizing that ultimately there's only one power, one presence, one source, one life, one living intelligence, one sacred heart that encompasses all, that is impressing itself into and out of all of life, of all of existence. This power is infinite in nature, contains all knowledge, is everywhere present and always active, and that we are one with it. And so knowing our oneness with the divine in this moment, and knowing the oneness of the divine for those whom we've offered into this prayer field this evening, we now know that at a very molecular level, that every molecule is aligning with the vibration of the eternal Om itself, that we are engaged in and aligning with a pattern of perfection within that is restoring the body temple to full and complete function, that all of the intelligence of the universe knows exactly how to heal itself, that we have the same faith in the ability to heal a cut finger as the body to heal itself from any seeming malady, from any mental tempest, from any mental block of any kind, from any sense of depression or separation, that we're releasing all of this now unto the infinite heart and the wellspring of light and love that is the Spirit. We take a deep breath and just release, and then just feel a sense of release in that, and a peace and sense of gratitude as we just survey the many ways in which we experience blessing in life now. That we are grateful to have a place to lay our head, clean water to drink, enough, that we have enough food, that we have enough resources, even as we call forward to us anything that we need to sustain our life. And this brings us a sense of confidence and of grace in feeling that all is well. For the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. So we take this healing vibe with us throughout the rest of this evening. And as for myself and Mike, as we arrive home, we do so in safety and in good order. And as all of us prepare for sleep this evening, we know as we hit the pillow that sleep comes easily, that we rest and sleep deeply and restfully, that we awaken, that we dream sweet dreams, that we awaken feeling rested and revitalized, full of vim and vigor and excitement for life, having been fully restored from a good night's sleep. That we feel a sense of joy and connectedness in the day as we move through the various activities, knowing that we are walking with the Spirit. So let's take a deep breath and release. And so for all of these cares, concerns, and tensions, little victories, little struggles, we just release all of it into that aspect of the mind itself where all the work is done. We release it now. We let it go. We allow it to be so. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So thank you for joining us for this meditation here this evening. I always forget to do this part, but we could use your financial support in keeping these programs going. Even though we are not meeting in person, the ministry goes on. And so I appreciate all of you who are practicing generosity and continue to practice generosity. And for those of you who've yet to do that, you can find a donate button on our website and make that donation through PayPal or through bill pay next time you're doing your online banking. However you support us, even if whether it's in coin or in prayer, it's much appreciated. So I'd like to also thank our beloved Michael Carlin for coming down on these Wednesday nights and working the cameras as he does also on Sundays. And of course on Sunday I'll be here with Reverend Nancy Woods and Ken Francis and Jason Goldstein along with Mike and Evan as we're socially distanced. So you stay safe at home. We got a ways to go yet. And so let's protect ourselves and each other by building immunity in our spiritual community by staying safe at home. Until then, peace and blessings. Love to you. Stay strong. And I'll see you on Sunday. Bye now.